Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofrumento, and I am particularly excited for today's episode because I feel like this episode is going to give all of you superpowers because we all drop balls when it comes to following up with our leads, staying on top of them, keeping the momentum going in our businesses. And today's entrepreneur has clearly become obsessed with solving that problem for us, and he's built really cool technology around it to set us all up for success. And on top of that, he's a really awesome entrepreneur that I know you guys are going to love his energy. So let me introduce you to today's guest. His name is Fitzgerald Light II. Fitz is the founder of FlightSuite.ai. He's a Charlotte-based entrepreneur, and he's been recognized as a 2025 Charlotte 30 Under 30 honoree. He's passionate about helping small and service-based businesses leverage technology to grow more efficiently. Through FlightSuite.ai and his speaking engagements, Fitz empowers business owners to simplify operations and unlock new opportunities for scale. We are definitely going to talk about scale in today's episode. Beyond his ventures, he gives back to the community as a board member of Charlotte Angels, which is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting children and families in the foster care system. I'm very excited about this one, so I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Fitz Light. Fitz, I am so excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I want to channel some of your energy. Can you bring some over to me? Let me get ahead of that.
Fitz, I'll tell you what, man, just interview entrepreneurs for a living every single day and have conversations that light you up. And I promise you'll be down this path as well. But you get it. You love business as much as I do. So let's start with you. Take us beyond the bio. Who's Fitz? How'd you start doing all these cool things?
Yeah, so I guess I want to think about who Fitz is. Originally from Jacksonville, Florida. I went through school pretty fast, so I tell people fun facts is that I was the youngest person to graduate from Florida State University at 18, turning 19, was the youngest person to graduate from Vanderbilt Owens School of Management as well with my master's in finance at 21. And then I did investment banking as my background at Bank of America, as well as private equity and venture capital. And in venture capital is where I got to talk with a lot of founders, and that's where I really got that entrepreneurial bug from, and being able to see what they do with their businesses and how excited that they got with their businesses. I wanted something for myself as well. And that's when I started looking at different ideas. And around this time is maybe 2021, 2022, everyone started talking about this one cool tool where you can essentially just give it a prompt or tell it to write an essay, and then it will write it for you. And I discovered ChatGPT for the first time maybe a couple of years ago. I wrote my first prompt and my life was changed forever. So that is how we currently got to the point where I am now. And since then, it's more so just trying to been learning more so about AI. How can we use AI not just in the entertainment ways, but more so for practical reasons? You know, AI does, I guess you could say, it uses a lot of resources. And I think right now it's a fun, cool, novel thing to do. I think with this next phase that we go into over the next 5 to 10 years, we're really going to basically have a whole revolution or revamp of how we interact and see technology today.
Yeah, so well said, Fitz. I love the fact that you use practical in there because I feel like the whole world is obviously figuring out AI and its mass accessibility. And think back a few months and on Facebook, everyone was just using ChatGPT to like make toys of themselves. Those graphic generators were going around. That's not a very practical use, as you called out. But in the business world, I'm a big believer. I'm very biased here, but I believe that entrepreneurs, we push the envelope, we innovate, we test, we experiment. That's why I love entrepreneurs like you who are bringing those practical use cases to the market. Talk to us about FlightSuite. A lot of listeners, they can't see, obviously most of them are hearing us right now. They may not have seen FlightSuite just yet. I'm in love with what you've built. You've got to introduce it to listeners.
Most certainly. So FlightSuite is an AI-powered platform for small business owners. I want you to think about it as a smart and better CRM. That meaning it will take care and track a customer from, I call it their first click, when they first find out about you, rather than site, social media, or if it's from paid marketing. And then at that point, it will go ahead, take that client or that lead into your system. It will start certain automations that might be to engage this lead or get that lead to book an appointment. And then after that appointment is booked, it still focuses and does automations and different things in the background to make your life easier. So for example, Brian, with yourself, when I was signing up for the show, you have questionnaires and you have a few different things that I provided you with for information. And that's something that could be automated. And that's what I like to do for a lot of my clients and have them thinking about what process or what steps do you not need to be a part of. And if you don't need to be a part of it, it might be better if the client could receive that information or be able to do certain things without you being a part of it. Because in today's world, delayed gratification doesn't really exist. And there's nothing I hate more than wanting to hire a business for their service. And I'm calling them, I'm emailing them, I'm texting them, and I get no response, and they might respond 2 days later. And it's like, at that point, I don't know if I even want the service anymore. So I work with a lot of small service business owners that are busy. I put in this system, like I said, a smart CRM system that connects everything from their website to their internal databases and their internal operations. And it works with a lead from the point when they come in to the point of them booking an appointment and becoming an opportunity to the final stage where we all like to get to, that retention stage of having that customer stay with us long term so that we can increase the lifetime value of the customer.
Yeah, I love that overview, but Fitz, admittedly, I want to pick on one word there because you use the word automated, and I want to go deeper into FlightSuite because FlightSuite is not just automation. Automation we've been able to do for a long time, in the fact that, Zapier is a basic tool. If this, then that is another tool that I've used previously where we humans, we give it logic and we say, hey, if somebody fills out this questionnaire, then send them this email. And I think it's really exciting that we're at the point where AI agents can actually have context. I love thinking about AI as applying a brain inside of automations, that it can make sense of things. It can answer questions. It's not only relying on logic and copy that we've set up. Talk to us about that, because you called out two different channels of phone and text. Those are two examples, and I'll throw email in there as well. Those are three different ways that we interact with leads, with customers, with so many different people. And I guess a lot of entrepreneurs probably don't realize how much AI can step in on those channels as well. It can actually take action for us.
Exactly. So in the same sense of the channels that you just mentioned, let's also throw in social media. So FlightSuite can also work across Facebook, Instagram, hopefully LinkedIn soon if we get a more updated API system. And what you just said, a lead reaches out or they might send a message. Let's say that whole message thread is context for the AI. So similar to how you ask ChatGPT a question and it uses all of your past messages and the memory that it has to be able to interpret what you're asking it and give you the answer that you're looking for, you can do the same thing with your internal database for your company. So if you have your SOPs, if you have how you quote certain projects, you give the AI this information so that it knows what frameworks you are using logically to speak with the client. And then on top of that, when you also give it the context of the email thread, the history of speaking with that client. And all of this is being tracked, by the way, inside of FlightSuite. So it's one universal message thread where you can see emails, text messages, Facebook messages, Instagram messages that you've had with this one particular client, all their notes in this one thread. And that all of that is fed into the AI that will then be able to answer whatever specific task that you have available for it. So I always tell people not to have one universal AI that does various things. I think it's better if you have one particular AI that does one thing great, and then you have that AI talk to other AIs that then do those things great. So I guess if you think about it as having a manager AI that says, okay, email AI turn on, or SDR AI turn on, or customer service rep AI turn on. And then the manager more so orchestrates everything like a orchestrator.
Yeah, I love those analogies, especially as a visual person. You and obviously you and I can see each other. A lot of listeners can't, but that hierarchy that you're really painting the picture of, and the orchestrator being the one that's pulling those strings and making sure the right ones activate at the right times. I think that's so cool. But Fitz, I always just imagine, what are the listeners probably thinking? And they're probably getting excited. I know listeners and entrepreneurs in general, we always get excited at new tools and new tech that can make our lives easier and our businesses more profitable. But a lot of people are probably thinking, Fitz, sounds complicated. How the heck am I going to get this set up? I've never had things like this in my business. What's that onboarding and integration look like?
Right. So in an onboarding perspective, that is actually one of the first things that I thought about. So my background is investment banking as well as from venture capital. And in venture capital, we always think about client success. How are you going to acquire customers, but more so, how are you going to keep the customers? And when it comes to service business owners, people that are already busy servicing their customers, the last thing that they want to do at the end of the day is learn this new piece of technology. And so we want to make it as simple as possible. Our promise or our guarantee is we will get you set up 2 weeks or less, depending on if you work with us and you give us the information that we need. And what that means is getting you set up with that automated phone number. So that's something that my team does. And we put the automations in place for that base framework for your CRM system to work as it should be, and your pipelines and everything to be tracked properly, and it to move by itself without you having to hop in there. We also connect it to your website. So we put in the smart forms, and if conversational AI is a big component that the user also wants, we will set up that first internal agent. A lot of people think that the conversational AI component is complex, which in the past it has been. But the beauty of AI nowadays is that you can talk to AI or give it instructions in plain English, and then the AI will then interpret that and put it into the code for itself to know how to act or how to perform in certain situations. So I tell a lot of people nowadays, when it comes to even working with technology, it's more so like playing with Legos as opposed to what we've seen previously of having to code out and build several different projects. And the beauty of FlightSuite is that we already put the Lego pieces together, and it's almost as if you're going to buy a fully constructed, let's call it a Star Wars ship of Legos that's already ready to go, and you just need to take it home and put it on your dresser. And that's how we would like to make it.
Fitz, this next thought of mine, I'm sure you hear it way more than I do, but I do hear it as a podcaster, as people question, how good can this stuff be? You know, when you and I talk about AI getting on the phone, you and I talk about AI sending text messages, a lot of people are afraid even of allowing AI into their email inbox. They're afraid of so many of these things, thinking that AI is in its infancy, because we do see a lot of bad AI out there as well. And I actually, full transparency, Fitz, I, for one episode of this show, gave it entirely to AI, and there were two AI co-hosts having a full-on conversation about entrepreneurship, and it was amazing. And I think that episode opened a lot of people's eyes to how good it can be. So you're operating within the world of real-time communications, text messages, phone calls. How good is AI where we are already today?
That's actually a great question. And I tell a lot of my leads that come in, I think every business owner immediately, when they hear AI and they think about what can AI do, it goes to, oh, wait, can AI make all the calls that I don't want to make? Can AI send all the text messages that I don't want to make? Can it make cold calls? Can it do these outbound calls? And that comes down to, I don't think AI should be used in that way. It's in the sense of, I probably get at this point maybe 10 to 15 spam calls a day. And the last thing that I want to do is if I pick up the call and I hear it's an AI agent, I'm immediately hanging up. And so I tell people, you want to put yourself in the shoes of the person that you're contacting with AI and make it the most smoothest and best kind of process and experience for your lead. So from an inbound perspective, let's say a lead's calling you or someone's calling to get information on what are your hours? How can I book an appointment? How can I do a certain task or a certain action? Then AI is great to be able to answer that call, get that information over to the lead. It can send that email, it can send that text message without you needing to be near a phone or even know that this conversation is happening. Or if it's in a sense of, if it is something that's complex that does require your knowledge, it can still confirm with the lead that, hey, this message has been received. I have sent it to the owner and we will get back to you in a short time frame, or we'll get back to you in a certain time frame, whatever that action is. I think it's just great from the standpoint point of being able to get leads or customers the information that they need, or in client success, we would just call it acknowledging that the message is received so that the client knows that it's not just sent to a black box of nothingness. I think in today's world, more communication is better than less communication. And having AI operate in the sense of providing answers and communications to simple requests is the best way to do it. And if it's more complex, or if you're trying to do outbound requests, remember, keep that relationship first. You make the outbound call, and then when they call back, then the AI can take over and route that call to you if necessary.
Yeah, I love the way that you spell all this stuff out, Fitz. And obviously, you've worked with so many different businesses and different business models. I'll transparently share with listeners that a big part of what it means to host a podcast is rescheduling. And that's the one area, Fitz, that it takes man hours for us behind the scenes to schedule, which is so silly because calendars are such an easy feat and AI can make easy sense of that. And that's an area that we openly recognize. People don't mind interacting with an AI scheduler. In fact, they probably prefer it because I'm not always the quickest inside of my email inbox. And so it's opportunities like that. I love how clearly you've called out, sure, someone who doesn't know you, they don't necessarily want to hear from your AI agent, but someone who's in your ecosystem, someone who has quick questions, let's reward them with speed, with accessibility to what they need. I really appreciate hearing you say those things and share those with us. Talk to us about those use cases inside of businesses, because a lot of people, I know myself 10 years ago when I operated a marketing agency, I probably would have thought, Fitz, why do I need a 24/7 accessibility with regards to phone when I don't really use the phone? I'm not accessible to people that way. It feels to me like this opens up new doors, and I feel like we're only limited by our imagination. What are those real life use cases and operational gaps that you love to plug in businesses?
Yes, so that is a great question. And I think let's take a step back first. I will say I meet a lot of business owners or leads that will say, I don't think this is something that I need right now in this time, or I have an assistant, or I have someone on my team that does that already. So what's the point of bringing in AI? And it's the same, I guess, argument that you heard from people in the sense of, 1995, you should have a website for your business. It's like, well, we got a brick and mortar store. What's the point of having AI when people can just come to the store if they want us, or they can look up our number in yellow pages? Why should we have a website? Fast forward 5 years later, and the main reason why you have a website is because your competitor now has a website, and your competitor is able to offer this service and get, responses back to people and answer questions at a rate that you can't do it. So in order to compete, it's a cost of doing business. And it's the same thing with AI. As more companies, especially these bigger companies, are using AI and is training the market and essentially everyone's customer base on what good interactions look like, or what good interaction times look like, then it makes a service business owner who, I would say a couple of years ago, if you could respond back to a lead by the end of the day, you're doing a great job. I think the industry standard now is you want to respond to a lead within 5 minutes or less. Otherwise, the engagement rate of that lead drops significantly. And with AI, everything is just getting faster and faster. So I would say in terms of practical use cases, first, most importantly, what every business owner or entrepreneur has to think about and deal with, how are you getting new leads? It's either inbound or it's outbound. If it's inbound, you will not be available 100% of the time to always answer quickly and efficiently with the right information for every lead that contacts you, especially if you're using paid marketing forms. It's actually crazy how many times where I am out of pocket or I'm traveling, and that's the time where I'll have 5 leads come in at one time, the moment I step on a plane. And so fortunately, having AI to be able to take over and have those conversations, I know that the client's in good hand. And usually when I step off the plane, I see that there is an appointment that's booked. The second part would be in the sense of what happens after you complete a meeting, or what happens after you perform a service for a client. If it's just a one-time job, well, then you would probably ask, or you should ask that client if they would like to leave a review, or how did you do? A lot of people forget that step just because, A, it sounds kind of weird asking someone, hey, can you give me feedback on how I did right after you finished a project? But then also, B, you kind of forget about it after you get the payment. I think that also leads into another use case for people that are operating on an invoice system. It can be challenging, or sometimes you just forget to follow up on certain invoices that are outstanding. So, for example, I have a client right now. We're building a conversational AI agent for him that is going to essentially replace the task of his billings team. So there's one person on the team that will spend basically all of Monday and Tuesday to make calls to their accounts receivables, people that have an outstanding balance, and just say, hey, you have a current balance of this amount. You can pay on a secure portal, or you can pay right now on the phone. How would you like to do that? Is that something that the person needs to do? Probably not. So that's why we're building a conversational AI agent that will essentially go down that list. It will make those calls. It will update a Google Sheet on, hey, this person was contacted, wasn't contacted. Here's the summary of how the call went. This person asked to receive a request link, or if the person wants to dispute it, it can easily transfer that person to the billings team so that that can happen on the call. What doesn't need to happen, though, is that person spending their entire Monday, Tuesday making these calls when it's something that the AI can do, when it's just informing someone. So it's just certain actions like that where it's the small mini actions that add up to and compound to a lot of time that entrepreneurs really don't think about.
Yeah, so well said. Fitz, what I really want to remind listeners of is that this isn't futuristic. You're talking about things that already exist inside of FlightSuite. And I think that that's the most exciting thing to me about what it means to be alive in 2025 is that this stuff is already here. It's not science fiction. It's so cool to imagine this world. I would actually argue it's not only better for us as business owners, this is so much better for us as consumers. I'm very grateful. I'm a frequent Amazon shopper, as I think so many of us are. I'm very grateful every time I get one of Amazon's support agents that's clearly powered by AI. It's always the quickest thing that I ever need. If I need to ask, hey, why is this package late? Hey, can I get a refund on this? Like, they're always instant when it comes to helping me, and I think that that's hugely advantageous, which leads me to this next thing that I want to ask of you, because if there's one thing I know about you, it's that not only do you love technology and business, but you also love the people element. And I feel like so many people pretend that these things are in opposition of each other. Tech and AI is the opposite of human interaction. I would argue it allows us to have more time and resources and bandwidth to interact with each other, but I'd love to hear your take, because it's so clear to me in even interacting with your team before you and I got together today, how much you value the people element of business. So talk to us about that.
Yes, I actually love that question in the sense of whenever people hear about AI, they automatically think, oh, it's going to replace jobs, or it's going to take away certain privileges that we have. When I think that's the completely wrong thought or wrong idea to have about AI. I tell people all the time that AI is a multiplier for your team, not necessarily a divider or a subtractor. That meaning if you have a team of 2 people or you have a team of 3 people and you're using AI agents, now you can operate like a team of 15 people or 20 people and operate at the same scale that, you know, these larger teams are operating at, with it just being a lower staff size. And the people, which, you know, that's what keeps the world going round. And AI by itself wouldn't be a purpose. The AI is meant to serve the people. And I think as we proceed into this next development of where AI is taking us, sure, I do believe some tasks and some jobs will go away. At the same time, though, I 100% believe that the privileges and opportunities that AI will open up is going to be astronomical. Just almost in the sense of, I'm not sure if you heard about this, but it's a school called Alpha Institute. They're opening up AI-powered elementary school in Raleigh, actually, and they're teaching these kids, or the kids are being taught with AI. So as opposed to the kid coming into the class and the teacher giving a general lesson plan, each kid is going to have essentially their own AI teacher. The AI teacher is going to know how ready this kid is for the next level, what things that they need to work on to get to that next level. And when they go in each day, it's going to be a personalized agenda for that kid to get caught up with the rest of the class. So that at, let's say, the end of the year, you can be confident that all the kids know everything that they should know because they received that personalized, individualized training. And then they're taking it one step further of teaching these kids how to use AI to do certain activities and certain things, such as how to run an Airbnb. So you have fourth and fifth graders that are managing Airbnbs, or fourth and fifth graders that are giving TEDx talks. So it's just amazing things of when you teach a younger generation of how to be self-sufficient and how to teach themselves, because AI will give you the answer. If you just ask what you don't know to ChatGPT, Google, YouTube, all of those are free. Well, maybe plus $20 a month, you'll get those answers that you need. And it more so just comes down to, do you have the skills to learn or teach yourself?
That is honestly so cool. Fitz, is there ever a better time for us to be alive? I'm convinced that this is the most exciting time for us because there's so many opportunities. Hearing you talk about that, gosh, I can't help but think all the way back to 10th grade geometry. And I'm just like, the things I didn't understand are different from the things that the student next to me didn't understand. And it's hard for a teacher to have 30 different teaching styles and cater to 30 different unique needs. But AI is making this possible. How much stronger would yours and I's academic background be if we could have explored what we were passionate about? And when I was learning these topics, it used soccer as the example, and for another student it used cooking as the example, whatever it is, and we would all learn so much more effectively. You brought this up, so I'm going to go there. I want to squeeze this in before this episode flies past us. You talked about what's coming for AI, so whether within the context of FlightSuite or just AI as a whole related to entrepreneurship and business, I'd love to hear some of your insights, because I know you're a visionary. So what are you looking at down the pipeline?
Okay, so I might just be ahead of the time on this one. I think I see us getting to the point of where we're all just using practical AI. And when I mention practical AI, I'm saying AI that actually has a benefit outside of us just entertaining ourselves. Sure, AI can be a therapist. Sure, AI can, write your captions. It can do your Instagram. It can do all of these things to make your life easier. However, what if we start using it in ways to make everyday tasks more, beneficial and practical? Such as NYU just had a student that created an AI model that can predict solar storms 4 days in advance. Now, I know a lot of the audience is like, okay, what's the point of that? What's the purpose of it? Solar storms knock out satellites. Most of our technology needs satellites. So less satellite interference means we're going to have better coverage overall. Now, thinking about how that is happening, what if we started using AI in ways to make our energy grid more efficient? What if we start using AI in ways to protect properties against, let's say, natural disaster events? What if we start using AI in ways, actually, scientists are using AI to discover and create new materials at a quicker and faster rate? So if we start using AI in more of these practical ways to make everyday life better, I think that is going to be a big benefit just for all of humankind. I think the second aspect is going to be when we start using, I guess for lack of better words, hardware AI. And when I say hardware AI, if we think about software would be iOS, and then we have the hardware, which would be your iPhone. So now what if we start getting to the point of we have, let's say, humanoid robots, for example? They seem scary. However, China's been 100% focused on that. I believe they're aiming to have 300 million humanoid robots in production in the next 5 years. And they recently just finished creating a robot they recently just finished testing a robot that can perform a full 12-hour shift without needing to have a break, without needing to change its battery. That's going to continue to be developed. That's already coming. No matter what we do, the genie's out the bottle. And I think being able to take advantage of that technology and know how to use that technology is going to really set apart people that excel in this next wave of the workforce and people that, for lack of better words, get left behind.
Yeah, Fitz, it's so exciting hearing your view of the future because, as you said, the genie's already out of the bottle. We're already on that path. I suspect it's not too far out that a robot is able to do my dishes and fold my laundry while I'm doing podcast interviews. Like, that's so cool. Again, freeing us up for the human connection, freeing us up to better serve the people that we care about, whether that's through business, whether it's through our families, whether it's through nonprofit volunteering. All of these avenues are going to be more accessible accessible to us. So super grateful that you are one of those voices and minds inside of the AI world, pushing that envelope. But before we let you go, Fitz, I always squeeze this question into the end of every single episode, and that is, what's your best piece of advice for listeners? Knowing that we're being listened to by both entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their own growth journeys, and also knowing that you are one of us, you are a fellow entrepreneur, what's that one piece of advice that you want to leave them with today?
Yes, that one piece of advice would be vision is stronger than strategy. I did not realize what that quote meant until I became an entrepreneur. I think Mike Tyson had a quote, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. It's the same with a business strategy, with the business plan. Before you launch, you have amazing ideas of how everything is going to go perfect. And then you launch and you realize, okay, none of this worked out. You don't quit though. It's like, okay, I know what my vision is. What other route can I take to get me to the same point? And sometimes you have to pivot, sometimes, or a lot of times you will have to pivot until you find that right product market fit. You only need to find it one time. And once you find it that one time, then it's more so just about listening to what experiences your customer base, what experiences your audience is telling you. But it all comes down to you having that vision, and that vision, it will be stronger than your strategy, because a lot of times the strategy and the plan that you have will not go as planned. And that is just called life.
Yes, so well said. Ooh, we always talk about all the twists and turns that come in any entrepreneurial endeavor, and I feel like that advice so encapsulates what it means to be an entrepreneur and what it means to be adaptable and to ride those waves to success. And holy cow, it starts with that vision, and I'm so grateful for you sharing that. I'm also very excited for listeners to go see the stuff that you're doing. You and I talking about it is one thing, but listeners actually going and checking out FlightSuite is an entirely different experience. I love the way you've laid it out. You guys and your team, clearly a lot of really brilliant visual minds behind the scenes as well, and in laying out, here's how it works, here's how it benefits your business, here's how the future is here today. This is not theoretical. So Fitz, for listeners who want to see FlightSuite in action, drop those links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
Yes, so if you want to see FlightSuite in action, you can first go to our website, FlightSuite.ai. That is spelled FlightSuite.ai. You can also Google FlightSuite.ai. It will take you to the same spot. Or you could also go to my Instagram at Fitzgerald Light, where I give a bunch of information on AI as well as on LinkedIn as well.
Yes, and listeners, not only can you Google it, but you can check right down in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. We're dropping all those links down in the show notes, so do not be shy, especially if you're on the go. Please don't try to remember these things while you're driving. You can click right on through directly from the show notes. So Fitz, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.